This live stream is dedicated to Luke Costella. First time watching live. Unbelievable. The irony was so thick. I watched this morning and my dopamine levels just spiked sky high. And first of all, thank you so much, Cameron Bertuzzi. Thank you for bringing my life meaning and purpose with the videos. You got to be careful, Cameron. It's like you gotta stop and think, what am I putting out there that a guy like me can review and just say, can't you see what you're doing? Hey, humble thinker, thank you for being here first. Appreciate it. 1,000 pine points to you. And Holy Shift is here too. And Jason Ball, top 3. Okay, so this is a discussion about, by the way, I did a video a long time, 3 years ago, on this guy on the right. His name is McNabb, Dr. Tyler McNabb. He's a PhD in philosophy, I think. I think he is a Plantinga fan, a sensus divinitatis type guy who thinks that you can just know something is true because of a sense you have internally, and if you're functioning well, and if you have all your defeaters accounted for and defeated, a defeater, you can have warrant to believe certain things. And so I did a video on him maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I was convinced he was a Protestant, and I think he was a Protestant 3 or 4 years ago, because some of his, like Plantinga is a Protestant, and I think he mentioned other apologists that are Protestants. I just assumed he was a Protestant, and lo and behold, I find out, he was a Protestant, and he became a Roman Catholic. Well, what happened? Why did he go from the truth to a lie? Because we all know Roman Catholicism is false, right? But let's be fair to the Roman Catholics. The Roman Catholics are Roman Catholics because they were the first. I mean, they have the true truth. I mean, the Protestants came way later, 15th century, 16th centuries. It's just like, what in the world? The Protestants are really late to the game, and anybody who calls themselves a Protestant is just really a goofball, because they're no better than the Mormons. Like, there's Roman Catholics listening right now on the replay that will be applauding me. Like, really, what is it with you Protestants? You might as well call yourself Muslims and Mormons because you're so late to the game. The early church, the early fathers, the traditions all stem in Roman Catholicism. Wasn't the Romans, the first ones to really make Christianity popular? Come on. But the reasons why Tyler McNabb made this shift is just horrible, in my opinion. And I think Cameron Bertuzzi agrees with me. Well, no, he would never use the word horrible. He would say not sufficient, which, by the way, is the reason why I'm not a Christian, because I don't think the evidence is not sufficient for the resurrection of Jesus. I reject first century Christianity. But here's the interesting thing. You guys have heard of the Pine Creek theorem, right? The Pine Creek theorem says that that women have converted more men to Christianity than the Holy Spirit could ever do. And so this is how my mind works. I started watching this video, and I'm thinking to myself, he must have a beautiful wife who's Roman Catholic. And they got married when he was a Protestant. Years go by, and wouldn't you know, he makes the shift. He makes the holy shift. See what I did there? Holy shift. Hey, Roger Wenzel, thank you for the donation. Off topic, but thanks for the King George from Hamilton. You're very, very welcome. Really, Yahweh and King George III are very similar. So, okay, but get this. So I do a little digging this morning. All publicly available information. You can all do it yourself. And sure enough, now I can't be 100% certain about this. I don't claim to be 100% certain. In fact, I claim that I could be wrong. But it sure looks like his wife was born and raised in a Roman Catholic family. They got married. He was a Protestant. She was a Roman Catholic. And once you know, years go by, and he makes the shift into Roman Catholicism. I'm talking about Tyler McNabb here. And it reminds me of, I did some some digging on the backstory of guys like Edward Fazer. Oh, I'm going to peeve off so many people right now, especially Roman Catholics. But when I did digging on Edward Fazer's five proofs for Christianity or whatever, and he, I think, was the same way. I think he was a Protestant and he became Roman Catholic. And, you know, the way my mind thinks, I was thinking, oh, he probably has a beautiful wife who was a Roman Catholic. Now, again, I can't be certain about this, but when I read, I went through like 5 or 10 interviews and blog posts and stuff, and I had like a flow chart. I'm sick. But sure enough, I think I'm right on this. And by the way, if I'm wrong, I want to be told I'm wrong. So, Tyler McNabb, if I am wrong, contact me. Here's my claims. Your wife was a Roman Catholic before you were, long before you were. And you became a Roman Catholic later. And say with Ed Fazer, if you ever watch this, I'm happy to say I was wrong about the Pine Creek theorem in your case. But the point of all this, and I think even a lot of Christians admit and agree with this, is that the factors that cause belief revision or beliefs in general, more times than not, have nothing to do with evidence. It has to do with psychological factors, cultural factors, how you were raised. This is a no-brainer, right? If you think people change their mind or come to decisions based mostly on evidence, then just look at the world around you, for goodness sake. This is why the scientific method, in my opinion, is a great method, because it tries to, it's not perfect, but it tries to squash down biases and make predictions and say, okay, if that prediction came true, then our theory behind it is maybe based on something true. Maybe it's still provisional, but maybe it's true. Our theory, our hypothesis, and so forth. But yeah, what's interesting is the reasons why. This is what happened. I think Tyler McNabb started seeking out reasons to believe that Roman Catholicism was true. Just like Cameron Bertuzzi, when challenged, started seeking out reasons to say that Christianity in general is true. Cameron's on record admitting that he really did know nothing. Cameron was an ignorant Christian. He admits this. He thought, well, I don't know, I had these experiences, or I was raised, or whatever. I was a Christian, and I was, in his own words, paraphrasing, he'd say, I was shocked. I was surprised at all the evidence for Christianity. Well, you know what, Cameron? The same thing happened to Tyler McNabb. He was surprised at all the evidence for Roman Catholicism. And we'll get into that. And it's like the epitome of confirmation bias. It's like you want to believe something, you want something to be true, and then you go seek out evidence to confirm it. And then you would say, oh, and then you're wearing this lens, right? You got these, for Tyler McNabb, it's the Roman Catholic glasses. Once he has, motivation and reasons to believe it, it's like he puts on those Roman Catholic glasses, and wouldn't you know, the miracle of the sun all of a sudden becomes powerful. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know that all these Mary statues that are weeping, it's like, maybe that did happen. Maybe there is some miracle behind that. And it's like, I can just see his wife just being so proud. Oh, thank you, Lord, that my husband finally became a Roman Catholic. Am I wrong? Trust me, it goes the other way around too. Like, with my wife, she cried when I left Christianity. She cried a lot. Now, but I can't force myself to believe it if I don't believe it. And so that made me feel bad. And so I'm sure it makes certain men happy when they do what their wife wants them to do, and it gives them joys, and so they have joy. Ugh. Isn't it so bizarre how coming to truth works? It's like, thinking we're coming to knowledge on certain things, and we're so convinced of things when deep down, there's so many factors that are coming into play. This is why, like, you just got to be so careful when you make a claim with a high degree of confidence, because, you know, we humans are terrible at coming to truth. Okay, and this is why basically it took 200,000-300,000 years of civilization to come up with an iPhone. Because you got to believe some true things in order to make that tech work. Okay, so this is I'm going to start at the miracle of the sun. Tyler gives several reasons. You can watch it for yourself, but here's one of the reasons.
This sort of movement. And the last thing,
yeah, this is the last reason he gave, which maybe could be the most powerful for him. I don't know.
I'll say is in reference to Fatima. And so for those who don't know, there's actually a movie coming out later this month. It looks really good on Fatima. I actually have a co-authored paper with one of my former grad students. Perhaps he was an undergrad student at the time, Joakim Balato. And we have a paper, it should be out any day now, on Fatima. And the reason why Fatima caught my attention was because Catholics all the time talk about Marian apparitions. That Mary appeared here, right? And I thought, you know what? If there was actually like any sort of evidence for that, that would sort of lean me to continue my path being a Catholic and so forth.
If there's any type of evidence for some of these apparitions for the miracle of the sun, that would continue my path to Catholicism. You can't talk that way if you care about truth. It's like for a lot of people like Cameron, just claiming you saw apparition cry that's evidence. No one can deny that. So if you're just after a little bit of evidence or any evidence, my goodness, you're compelled to believe all sorts of nonsense, Tyler McNabb. Come on. Be better than that. Hey, thank you for the donation, Stuart's MLT review. Who is Tyler? Tyler is a guy, I think he's from Texas. He's a PhD in philosophy, Protestant turned Roman Catholic. And we're trying to figure out why he did that.
And that would sort of strengthen my faith, so to speak, in Catholicism. And so...
Sound familiar, Cameron? You know, if there's evidence for the miracle of the sun and all these Mother Mary's weeping, and if there's evidence for that, it would strengthen his faith in Catholicism. Sounds familiar, right? When you read philosophy of religion papers and how it strengthens your faith in being a Protestant.
I looked at a handful of different apparitions, and I thought, Fatima probably looks the best, most well documented, and.
So the Fatima is the miracle of the sun. It happened in the early 20th century, 1918, I don't know, and he's saying this is the most powerful miracle, most evidence for it.
So I turned my attentions to studying it. And for those who don't know, Portugal at the time was in disarray. The government was clamping down on Christianity, Catholicism, and it was becoming extremely secularized. And it was in desperate need of revival. And you have these three kids who have these, Mary appears to them and talks with them, and they start coming to Mary once a month. And the people start hearing about this, and they're like, what? Like, oh, really? Like, these kids are like prophets? Oh, interesting. And they started like flocking to the kids. And this made the government not very pleased. And so they ended up getting kidnapped by the government. And the government ended up saying, okay, you have these secrets from Mary, tell us. And they're like, no. And they
This is a grown man with a high education, believing this stuff. Makes me a little sad for humanity.
They basically tortured them, and they threatened them with death. And the kids were like, no. In fact, they were made to believe that.
Okay, I gotta stop this. I got to put on my street epistemology hat. Reed is in the live stream chat. I need help, Reed. I got to stay in control. I gotta picture Mr. Dr. McNabb here right with me. And, he's going to dismiss me if I say anything negative about this. He's just going to, he's just whatever. So I gotta think, okay, maybe there's truth in this. Maybe the miracle of the sun is strong evidence that Roman Catholicism is true. I gotta try to get myself in that mindset that maybe the miracle of the sun really does show that Roman Catholicism is true. Be open to that sincerely and genuinely. I should not say this. I should not say this is absolutely nuts. I should not say this is crazy. I should not say shame on you, Tyler McNabb, for having an absolutely horrendous, atrocious epistemology, and shame on you, shame on you. And I should not say that he became a Roman Catholic only because his beautiful wife was a Roman Catholic before him. I should not say any of that stuff. I should strike that from the record, and I should be just listening intently and asking thoughtful questions. Hey, thank you, Scott Duke, for the donation. Here, a few bucks for some Tylenol. Yeah, I need some Tylenol right now.
That their siblings had died. And so, I mean, they do go through some torture and kidnapping, and they remain solid, right? I don't know about your kids, but any sort of like little pressure that I put on my kids, and are like, are you lying? Because if you are, you're going to be grounded. Like, okay, fine. The pressure really easy for.
But what if you say, I'm going to ground you if I find out you're lying? So tell me the truth. Were you lying? They're going to lie to say that they didn't lie in order not to get. And never mind.
Kids, and
you can get through torture. You can get people to say anything. I'm not implying torture here. I'm just saying
these kids, they stayed strong, and I think that's something. And then obviously the miracle that occurred, called the miracle of the sun, where the sun or something like the sun. I'm very open to it being not the sun, like some sort of meteorological event. But they said, hey, at 12 o'clock.
Remember, this is the best evidence, in Tyler McNabb's opinion, for evidence that Roman Catholicism is true.
This particular date, Mary's going to show, and it's going to be like this great sign. And so people all over Portugal gathered, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000, I think as high as estimated as 100,000. You can see pictures of everyone lined up.
40, 50, 60,000, as high as 100,000. This sounds better than the evidence for the resurrection to me. Right now, there's record of up to 100,000. According to the creed, so far it's like maybe we got the 500 plus 12, 512. Let's double that. And we're still the evidence, and if we are to use, Cam Spires and Camille Gregor are going to love this. If we're going to use the McGrew-Bayes theorem, the possibility that this did not happen is like close to zero. Like this Fatima miracle of the sun, it happened, and the attribution of it can only be explained by the God of Roman Catholicism. Hey, thank you so much, Joshua White. Is there any confirming evidence for your flying ancestor that I can continue to believe? Oh, yeah. If you want confirmation bias on my flying ancestor, just hang tight. And I'm creating the Bible now for it.
Look at it. If you Google this. And it was pouring rain. And right about the time they said that this would occur, the clouds stopped raining. It sort of opened up, right? It moved, and everyone's clothes became. It was widely reported that everyone's clothes became like super dry really quickly, and the vast majority of people reported that they saw the sun turn colors and move all around to the point where it looked like it was finally coming toward them.
Okay, so they saw something, and they predicted it would happen. So there was some type of prediction that on this day something in the sky would happen. I don't know how specific that prediction was, but yeah, there was a prediction. Some of the people who followed this guy named Jesus thought he would rise from the dead, so there's a prediction there too. I wonder if we know how many times this prediction happened, and it didn't happen. But the one time that the prediction did happen, that something happened in the sky, we don't know what at this point. Are we just remembering the hits and forgetting about the misses here? Actually, before he goes on, let me bring up, here we go. The source of all good knowledge is from Wikipedia. Oh, I tell you, Christians hate Wikipedia because it's a fast way to show that their religion's wrong. Oh, that was cruel. So therefore, it must be false information. But Protestant Christians are going to love Wikipedia here. It's so the miracle of the sun, also known as the miracle of Fatima, is reported to have occurred October 13th, 1917, just before World War I, attended by a large crowd who gathered in Fatima, Portugal, blah, 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 blah. Newspapers published testimony from witnesses who said they had seen extraordinary solar activity, such as the sun appearing to dance or zigzag in the sky, careening towards Earth, or emit multicolored light in radiant colors. According to these reports, the event lasted about 10 minutes. Okay. How does this get us any closer? Okay, the prophecy was that the Virgin Mary, Our Lady of Fatima, would appear and perform miracles on that date. Now, all you have to do if you're a Roman Catholic, you don't even have to read any papers from anybody. Criticism. Theologians, scientists, and skeptics have responded to the claims. Science writer Benjamin Radford maintains the sun did not really dance in the sky. Roman Catholics, do you think it danced in the sky? Really? I don't think you even believe that. We know this because, of course, everyone on Earth is under the same sun. If the sun did dance in the sky, if the Earth actually moved and stopped its rotation and all that sort of thing, we wouldn't be here to talk about it. And if the closest dying star to us suddenly began doing gymnastics, a few billion other people, yeah, we'd probably be dead too. No one suggests that those who reported seeing the miracle of the sun or any other miracles of Fatima are lying or hoaxing. Why not suggest that? Maybe some of them were lying or hoaxing. Instead, they are very likely experienced what they claim to through the experience that took place mostly in their minds, because they were expecting something, right? Radford also responds to the claims regarding the sudden drying up of water by pointing out that it is not clear, and photography from the time of the event does not show that it had been raining as much or long was reported. Oh, so there's a question whether it did rain and they were wet to begin with. The evidence for visions of Virgin Mary by Kevin McClure, blah, blah, blah. May have been expecting to see signs in the sun since similar phenomena had been reported in the weeks leading up to the miracle. Well, isn't that dandy? There were similar phenomena reported in the weeks leading up to the miracle. On this basis, he believes that the crowd saw what it wanted to see. McClure also stated that he had never seen such a collection of contradictory accounts. Contradictory accounts? That sounds a little bit like the Gospels. It's low blow. And in the case of any research that had been done in the previous 10 years. Okay, let me see something. You know, my friend Camille Gregor, he gives a naturalistic account for the resurrection by saying pareidolia, the word of the day, can explain the appearances of Jesus to many people. And look what Radford writes here. Radford wrote that the psychological factors such as the power of suggestion and pareidolia can better explain the reported events. What is pareidolia? Let's see here. Okay. You see, what do you see there? By the way, while you're thinking of what you see here, I want to mention that I am very happy with my purchase of a pure blood German Shepherd. I love my dog. But okay, back to the live stream. What pareidolia? What is that? Do you guys see anything there? Do you see like a dog? Power of suggestion, right? And Camille's point was that you don't have to see a fleshy Jesus to say you saw a fleshy Jesus. And yet not be lying, but you just like, it's like the Pentecostal thing. I experienced Jesus. Jesus appeared to me. through the power of suggestion, through the music, through community, everybody thinking the same way. And so they look, and the Camille's theory is they looked in the clouds, just like the miracle of the sun, they looked upward. And just like the Roman Catholics say, or Tyler McNabb anyhow says that this is the best evidence that Roman Catholicism is true. They look up into the sky and they see what they want to see. And maybe that's what happened to 500 people. If there 100, this could happen to 100,000 people in Portugal. Why couldn't this happen to 500 people in first century Palestine? They look up to the sky and they see Jesus. He is risen, risen indeed. And he probably looked a lot better than this, because that looks like a skull, right? Pareidolia. My goodness. Like, this is... Oh, sorry. I'm thinking about Reed Nisander. I gotta ask questions. Don't make statements. Careful, Doug. I think Cameron has by the way copyrighted for the merchandising segment of this business. Oh no, I'm happy to wear. If Cameron Bertuzzi sends me, by the way, Christianity is True apparel, I'll wear it on stream. I wonder if Cameron Bertuzzi would ever wear a hat that says, by the way, naturalism is true. I can wear Christianity is True on my head. It doesn't bother me. I don't believe it, but I could wear it. But I don't think Cameron could even wear it. In fact, I dare you, Cameron. It might open up a entryway for demons to enter your life. I tell you, I bet you at some point in Cameron's life he believed that, and maybe he still does, that if you give an inch to satanic forces, it'll take a mile. Anyhow, back to
hit them, and it didn't hurt to look at this sun or whatever it was. Yeah, you have sort of taking these things in conjunction, and I mean, I looked a little bit into like, well, how can this naturalistically be explained? There's one hypothesis that maybe they had retina damage, but I've looked.
Natural explanations, maybe they had retina damage. What about pareidolia?
Did a couple studies that tried to replicate this. And like one study, for example, had 4 people that were looking at the sun. They had to constantly, like throughout the day, look at the sun at a particular time, go through trial and error. And only one of them claimed to have seen what they saw at Fatima.
1 out of 4? What did he say? They did a trial of people looking up in the sun to see if they could recreate this miracle. And that's 25%. That's 25. Okay, so if there was 100,000 people at Fatima, Miracle of the Sun, seeing this, did more than 25,000 actually see this miracle of the dancing of the whatever, the sun? Because if not, then it has to be far above 25% in order for it to be statistically significant. Alpha 0.05. Hey, thank you, Michael I. Good pastor. Pope Pius XII claimed to have saw the miracle of the sun on multiple occasions. Doesn't his overall honesty and reliability on other matters make his testimony good? So, Michael, good pastor, you are exactly right. And this ties in perfectly to Dr. Tyler McNabb. If a pope, a significant figure in society, saw the miracle of the sun on multiple occasions, and if he was right on where the closest 7-Eleven was on his street, if Pope Pius XII was correct about the geography and the populations and who's in power in certain places in the world, if he was honest and reliable about that, then it behooves us to think he is reliable about the sun dancing in the sky. Excellent point, Michael, good pastor. Glad you showed up to remind me of these facts.
Another, he was actually a scholar who tried to do it himself, and tried to reenact this and tried to see if he could mimic it. And by the way, all the 4 of those people got eye damage after doing that.
Okay, look at Cameron Bertuzzi. Cameron, I'm sure over 50% chance you'll see this. You don't buy this for 1 second, do you? I'm hearing him come in through the radio waves. You don't buy this for 1 second. You dismiss this so fast, so quickly, right? Now, why can you dismiss this amazing claim based on this type of evidence so quickly? And yet, worse evidence for the resurrection of Jesus you accept. But Doug, it's not worse evidence.
They all suffered eye damage. And so this person, he did it. He said that he saw the like sun turn colors, like a dark blue, I think, something like that. But he didn't see it move around or anything. And so, I mean, I think the idea is like, even if it was retina damage, like I'm open to that hypothesis. But the idea that at just the right time, the kids predicted some sort of event would occur that would like make retina damage have retina damage, and the vast majority of people act in this particular way when we know that it's hard to replicate. I mean, it just seems implausible to me. And then everyone's clothes drying up really quickly. And again, you look at the sincerity of the kids' belief. So some people have said, okay, it's not retina damage.
The sincerity, it's like, how do you even do an outsider test for faith for this? Like, if there were 3 Muslim children and they're in Pakistan in the year 1918, and they felt they had this vision of, I don't know, Muhammad coming to them in a vision and dream saying a miracle is going to happen outside in the next, on this day, even though leading up to it, there's been some solar activity or whatever being reported in the weeks prior. And these kids never recanted on these visions, and 50, 60, 70,000 Muslims go out and they look at the sky and they see the dancing. Therefore, Islam is true. Or more likely to be true. Not for a second, Tyler McNabb, would you buy that. Why are you buying it now? I think I know why.
But it's a meteorological event. Something happened and they explained it through meteorology, and again, fine. Okay. I'm definitely open to that hypothesis. That would explain why the clothes got dried really quickly and so forth, and why it looked like the sun was moving, because it wasn't the sun, it was something else. But again, the kids predicted at the same time. And so
did they predict it to the minute, to the second, to the hour, or just to the day? And if this type of atmospheric activity was happening to the days prior, or even the weeks prior, as it says on Wikipedia, the source of knowledge, right? If that is true, would your confidence be lower, Tyler McNabb? Because I could have made that prediction as I'm an enemy to Roman Catholicism. I don't believe any of it's true. But if I was in 1918 and I'm looking up on Monday and I see some weird stuff happening in the sky, I look up in the sky Tuesday, I see some weird stuff happening in the sky, and I say, on Wednesday, the Virgin Mary, blessed be her name, is going to do a miracle in the sky. My goodness, Tyler, how stupid you would say I would be.
So I think that this provides a little evidence, at least modest evidence, for that this event actually occurred.
Whoa. Hang on. I just caught something. I think earlier on, didn't he say this is the best evidence for miracle to show that Roman Catholicism is true? And now he says this?
So I think that this provides a little evidence, at least modest evidence, for that this event actually occurred. And if
it went from the best evidence to, I think this provides a little evidence. The claim that the Virgin Mary is performing a miracle in the sky is a pretty big claim. Because you're not only saying that it's a natural phenomenon happening in the sky, but it's being caused by the Virgin Mary, and you're saying it's modest evidence. If it's truly modest evidence that points in the direction, you should reject it. Because it doesn't come close to matching the claim that someone who's dead from 2,000 years ago is actually causing it. This is very reasonable, is it not? Like, don't look at me and say, oh, you're an atheist and you're saying this stuff. I'm a human being talking to other human beings and saying, isn't what I just said extremely reasonable? That you should reject this. If you yourself admit it's modest evidence that generally kind of points to a certain direction, you shouldn't believe it based on your own words. Serenity now.
This event actually occurred. I think it does point in the direction of Catholicism, because the Marian apparitions, she was talking about the Sacred Heart and praying the Rosary and like all these Catholic things. And so I do think it points in the direction of Catholicism. So that's sort of like a little, think about Swinburne's inductive arguments, right? Where it's just like, it moves the hypothesis a bit more. And so you got these Fatima and biblical cases of the papacy that sort of, to me, points you in the direction.
Okay, now there's Protestants listening to this, and they're not buying any of it. I guarantee you, I would dare say the vast majority of Protestants are listening to Tyler McNabb. They're not buying that the Virgin Mary had anything to do with this whatever happened in 1918. They're not buying it. But yet, they buy the resurrection story that Jesus actually appeared to 500 people. Why?
To specifically go Catholic instead of Orthodox, though I will say, honestly, I don't know if there really is a substantial difference between the two at the end of the day. We can talk about this if you want, but at the end of the day, some Orthodox theologians sound very similar to certain Catholic theologians, and even about papal authority and so forth. And so I'm not...
Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I got a few timestamps here. It's like, it can't get any worse than this, can it?
And then you said church has a lot. You said the church has a lot right. So it sounds to me like at least part.
Real quick, if I could,
yeah, go ahead.
If I can correct slightly.
Cameron gives a nice summary here. Let me back it up. So let's see, maybe about here.
Succession, but the sort of biblical case and a little bit of a historical case for papal succession. So, yeah.
Papal succession.
Papal
okay.
Office. Yeah, papal office.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get to that in a second.
Sum it up.
Yeah, so I can just share some brief thoughts on that real quick on the
right.
apostolic succession or papal office. So that's like the area that I haven't looked into yet at all, and so I'm really interested to hear like what your case is, so I can learn more about it. All right, so let's move back in the conversation to the church and get clear on like what the argument is supposed to look like from the church. And so I heard you say a couple things. You said it was implausible that God abandoned the church. The church has that the church had anything wrong seems implausible to you.
It's implausible that the church, i.e. the Roman Catholic Church, got anything wrong. Now, there's Protestants, I know there's Protestants listening to that. That's just stupid talk. Humans are humans. They get a lot of stuff wrong. So if the Catholic Church is made up of humans, I don't care how important they are. I'm talking from the version of Christianity I came from. This is how Protestants will think, a lot of them. I don't care how spicy and garish your robes are. You're just a man. I don't care how fancy your prayers are. You're just a man, and you can be wrong about very important stuff. Now, and I think a lot of Protestants are saying, yeah, who cares if you're the Pope? You can be wrong. Who cares if you're a bishop? You can be wrong. And why in the world are you Roman Catholics kowtowing and bowing and giving so much authority and respect to these guys when they're no better than you? They put their pants on one leg at a time. Now, let me pick on the Protestants for a second. You guys treat the authors of the gospel and the Apostle Paul very similarly to how Roman Catholics treat the early church fathers and popes and bishops and all that sort of thing. You just like, but they're special. Yeah, they're just men, but God just zapped them with some special powers or something, and they can't be wrong. Not all Protestants say this, but a lot of Protestants say they weren't wrong when it comes to the scriptures, because this is holy and special. Isn't it interesting how, and Catholics believe this as well, but they just keep it going when it comes to the church.
The church, you said it teaches classical theism. I think that's pretty dubious. And then you said church has a lot. You said the church has a lot right. So it sounds to me like at least part.
Real quick, if I could,
yeah, go ahead.
If I can correct slightly. So it wasn't that I find it implausible that the church got one thing wrong. the idea is that the church, I find it implausible that all these sort of features that we've talked about, that the church got wrong, and not just got wrong, but got wrong for 1,500 years, and so.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So my thought on that is, why couldn't they get something wrong that's even like sort of important?
Great question, Cameron. Why couldn't the early church fathers, the Roman Catholic Church, get some things wrong, and even very important things? And for you, right back at you, Cameron, why couldn't the Apostle Paul get major important things wrong? Why couldn't the author of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John get some very important things wrong? What's to stop that from happening?
Like to me, okay, so here's some of the background beliefs that I'm bringing to this conversation. I think that you pretty much share them. Is that humans are in general fallible, and you even think that. You think you're a complete 100% fallibilist about in your view in epistemology, right? You don't think that we have any infallible knowledge. And so if we come to the conversation with that understanding that people can get things wrong, they're not infallible. And so it seems pretty plausible that a church comprised of humans is going to get some stuff wrong. And
yeah, Moses got stuff wrong, right, Cameron? How about Elijah? How about Elisha? How about Malachi? How about Jesus? Oh, Cameron, Jesus was 100% man. Did he get some things wrong?
So it's not to say that they're going to get everything wrong, because even Protestants don't think that the Catholic Church has everything wrong. They just think that there are certain key points, certain key areas that they're wrong about. So to me, this one, I don't know. I'm not super persuaded by that one.
Yeah. So I think that it's not just like, oh, they got something wrong here and there. But I mean, we're talking about pretty important things. So whether it be...
I think the Eucharist is really important.
Who we baptize, so baptizing infants. What does baptism do? It ties one into Jesus, right?
So if I'm hearing Tyler McNabb correctly, who's now a Roman Catholic, he's saying these are the important things that the church didn't get wrong, that you should baptize your children. I can tell you from my experience being a former Protestant for 30 years, I tell you, especially Mennonite, we barf at the idea that you baptize your children. We think that is disgusting, and we think that's like, you can have a baby dedication and say you're going to bring up your child in the ways of the Lord, and that you're going to, for me and my household, we will serve the Lord, all that sort of good stuff. But to actually, sprinkle or dunk a baby, it's like, how superstitious are you? You might as well dress up as a professional athlete and go down on one knee and do the cross symbol every time you score a touchdown, because you're hoping to get the favor of a deity to protect you or help you get more touchdowns in the future. It's like, please God, if we put some H2O on our baby, I'm sure that will get favor, that you'll help our child live a fruitful and productive life. It's like, how superstitious is this? And I'm telling you, and this is how I thought as a Protestant, not just as an atheist. This is how I thought as a Protestant, like, just how foolishness is this? Baptism is a commandment from the Lord. How can a baby obey a commandment? It's just, boom, you're done right there.
The way original.
And the Protestants are cheering me on right now.
And what's justification? Right? What is apostolic succession? Right? What that's to say, like visible identifying markers of what the church is, right? And so or the Eucharist, as you mentioned. So I mean, we're talking about some really, really substantial things. And again,
it's like these are the substantial things: baptism of babies, and eating crackers and drinking wine to symbolize the blood, to eating the flesh and drinking the blood of Jesus. And Roman Catholics, 25% of them at least, according to Pew polls, believe that this is a miracle in itself, that you're actually eating the flesh and drinking the blood of Jesus. And the other 75% say, come on, I don't buy that stuff. But this is the important stuff that the church, the Roman Catholic Church, cannot be wrong about. Putting H2O on babies and eating gluten and grape juice.
Again, the background knowledge that we both share is that the church is called the pillar of truth. The Spirit's going to guide us to all truth, and the gates of hell aren't going to prevail against the church. And so, the
gates of hell is not going to prevail on the church. How many church leadership people really high up in the Roman Catholic Church have been found guilty of being sexual predators to children? keep that thought in your head when Dr. McNabb says this.
The church is called the pillar of truth. The Spirit's going to guide us to all truth, and the gates of hell aren't going to prevail against the church.
Now, if Christianity is true, and if there are indeed gates of hell, I tell you, the church wasn't immune to the gates of hell for those church leaders. My goodness. Protestants, you're on my side on this one, right? And even Catholics, you're on my side on this, right? Like, there can be corruption within the church. Please tell me you're on my side on this.
And so, when I just think about it, it does seem sort of implausible to me. But
okay, so here's Well, here's the way that I'm kind of thinking about it right now. So when I think about like the beliefs or doctrines that are sort of necessary for salvation, I think that the church has got those right. And so when we're thinking,
I don't think what it takes to be saved, you think the church got that right? Cameron, are you sure about that? Because the Roman Catholics in general, and I believe I'm correct here, if there's a Roman Catholic in my live stream chat, you can correct me, but the Roman Catholics are way more works-based than the Protestants are, especially the Calvinist Protestants. So I guess I have to say it depends what type of Protestant you are and what type of Roman Catholic you are. But like the Roman Catholics read the book of James and they say, look, that you can lose your salvation. Look, you have to pick up your cross and follow him. And if you don't you think for 1 second you're going to heaven and that you're saved. Whereas the Protestants, at least some of them, will say, no, there's nothing that can pull the child out of my Father's hand. Once it's a true confession, God will make sure that you preserve to the end and run the good race and blah, 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 blah. So even things like salvation, Protestants and Catholics are like at odds with each other. So Cameron, you can't say that on certain things you believe the Roman Catholics got it right.
About beliefs that are important, I think that those are really the ones that the church has got to like maintain throughout their whole history. So the ones that are necessary for salvation, basically. So if you don't think, a lot of Protestants don't believe this. Some Protestants do, obviously. But if you're a Protestant, you don't believe that baptism is necessary for salvation, then that's not. I mean, it's still important, but it's not necessary for salvation. And so,
there's a lot of Protestants, Cameron, that would think that baptism for infants is not important at all. Baptism for adults is, but for babies, it's just a superstitious show. A lot of Protestants believe this.
I guess that's. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well,
so I would think that the church as the collective of Christians have the beliefs that are sort of necessary for salvation. Those have been preserved. So I think you and I both agree with that.
The Trinity,
right.
That sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So again,
even that, Dr. McNabb says, in order to be saved, you have to believe in the Trinity. Oh, bye, Unitarians. Thanks for showing up. But sorry, you're going to hell in a handbasket. Oh my goodness.
So, so basically, going back to those passages, it's like, okay, the church is a pillar of truth, and by the pillar of truth, we mean like it'll always have the essentials to faith, or the Spirit's going to guide us to all essential truths, or the gates of hell won't prevail against the church, and by that we mean like the church get lots and lots of things wrong, lots of secondary doctrines wrong for 1,500 years, but it will always keep those essentials. I mean, these are the people who.
Okay, what he's about to say, I think I got the timestamp. Listen, if you're ignoring this video and you're kind of listening to me, but kind of not, and you're just in the chat having fun, listen, just like, do me a favor and listen to the next 60 seconds.
Who helped, formulate our canon, who were the ones who recognized by the Spirit which books, right, belong. And so, yeah, I mean, it seems to me sort of a hard bullet to bite to say, yeah, it's kind of almost like a Mormon argument. Obviously, I don't think that Protestants are Mormons. Please, no one kill me. Clearly, Protestants who love Jesus.
Tyler McNabb is comparing Protestants to Mormons.
And, I'm sure some Mormons do as well. But that's not to go down that rabbit hole.
Because Cameron's point was, sure, the Roman Catholic Church, they could have got the essentials right. But that doesn't mean they got everything right, and that we should believe the traditional church and the popes and all that sort of thing. They're fallible. They can get things wrong. And Tyler McNabb is saying, you sound like a Mormon. Because what does Joseph Smith say? He says, yeah, the gospel's got some things right, but thank goodness that Jesus appeared to me in the year 1820 or something like that, and to tell me the true gospel. Thank goodness Jesus came back to set the record straight. And that's what McNabb is saying. This is, you sound like these Mormons. He says, no. The church got everything right, Cameron. The Roman Catholic Church got everything right. Because if they didn't, then I guess that puts Mormonism back on the table to fix what we got wrong. And you don't want that, do you, Cameron? You don't want Mormonism to come around 1900 years later to fix things that our church got wrong, our Catholic Church?
But just this argument style is kind of like that. And so, Mormons are like, yeah, we had the central doctrines. They were all there. But there's this great apostasy that happened when, the last apostle died. And thank God for Joseph Smith, who through him and the Reformation of the church, we've come to enlightenment. And I'm not saying it's too
real quick as you're talking.
But it is similar.
Oh, I wish Cameron would have let Dr. McNabb keep talking there. But I think there's a reason why he's well. Yeah. Oh, because this was the third, outsider test for faith, third-party perspective coming through and through. It was beautiful. If I was interviewing McNabb here, I would just let him talk. But I want to fast forward now to why I think epistemologies like McNabb and Bertuzzi is absolutely horrible. I had maybe a little bit of the epistemology when I was like them when I was a Christian, but not to this extent. Let's see if I can find it here.
I'm saying these longer non-Protestant communities. I mean, we're talking about people who are around a lot longer and around in a more significant time. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that on the point of community, this is only tangentially related. So I wanted to say that I have had legit religious experiences when I go to Catholic churches. I've had that.
Okay, what does legit mean in this context? Listen to Cameron again and ask, if you're a Christian, listen to Cameron again and ask yourself this question. What does he mean by legitimate? That he felt something, experienced the butterflies in the stomach, his heart started racing, he felt a huge sense of awe and wonder? Or is he saying that, I went to a Catholic church, I experienced something, and that means Roman Catholicism is true?
This is only tangentially related. So I wanted to say that I have had legit religious experiences when I go to Catholic churches. I've had that. Like I had one as recently as a week ago.
What's he doing in a Roman Catholic church a week ago? Is Cameron leaving the Protestant fold? Hey, thank you, Jose Acevedo. The priest was handsy with Cam. Which Cam?
To a Catholic church for a funeral. And when I went in, I felt like something's right about this. It's a weird feeling. It's a weird sensation. So I think that's also like a point in favor of Catholicism.
Do you act on these feelings, Cameron? Oh, that Cam. I get it now, Jose. Yeah, I was thinking Cam Spires and what? But I think of this Cam as Cameron. But do you act on these feelings, Cameron, that you go into a Roman Catholic church and you have these feelings and you sense that there's something right about it, something true about it, something that is guiding you towards truth or something? I mean, if that's what you believe, think, use your brain, think about the hundreds, if not thousands of religions and denominations and sects of religions that you deem to be false and heresy that say the same thing as you just did. You should not for 1 second think that any type of experience in that church of, oh, this feels so good, oh, the beauty, all the wonder. Therefore, Roman Catholicism is true. Therefore, Jesus rose from the dead. Therefore, Islam is true. Therefore, Judaism is true. Therefore, Hinduism is true. Therefore, Buddhism is true. It's like, well, Buddhism is a little different, but Mormonism is true. You get the point. It's a horrible way to come to knowledge based on the little touchy-feely stuff. And you can get these same feelings of awe and wonder and majesty just actually watching a hockey game. I remember when I was a kid watching Wayne Gretzky, and it's like, man, this guy had so many skills and talent, and it's just like, it was wonderful to watch.
Think that that's not really like evidential. It's not like a good argument for something. But if you watch the show that we did yesterday on epistemology, that can actually serve as some pretty solid evidence for you, at least for me in particular, religious experience like that.
Like, okay, I'm going to speak to the fans of capturing Christianity right now. The reasonable, intelligent followers of capturing Christianity. Listen to this.
Of Catholicism. You might think that that's not really like evidential. It's not like a good argument for something. But if you watch the show that we did yesterday on epistemology, that can actually serve as some pretty solid evidence for you, at least for me in particular.
That can serve. He's talking about these experiences, and he said last week he went to a Roman Catholic church, I think, and had some amazing experience. That can serve as pretty solid evidence. Followers of capturing Christianity, do you agree with him? And when I ask that question, really think about, if you say yes, what that implies for other religions who you deem false. He used the words solid evidence, did he not?
That can actually serve as some pretty solid evidence for.
I think Cameron is saying here that for everyone in a religion that he deems false, I hope Cameron still thinks some religions on this planet is false. Maybe he's so far off the deep end that he's like, I don't know what. But if Cameron Bertuzzi believes some religions on this planet are false, and who say that they have this amazing experience of their deity, who Cameron thinks is false, doesn't exist, is made up, is just maybe even a demon, do you agree with Cameron here that this is solid evidence that their religion is true? That it points in the direction that their religion is true? My goodness, this is horrible epistemology.
For you, at least for me in particular, religious experience like that, it would be a sort of properly basic belief if Catholicism were true. So I think that I take that kind of stuff really seriously.
See, this is the thing. They always put that caveat, if Catholicism is true, and if I had this experience, and if it in a Catholic church, and if Catholicism is true, Roman Catholicism, well, then my experience, its attribution is correct. But that's what we're trying to figure out in the first place. You're using the experience as evidence pointing to that something might be true. You can't say, well, if it's true, therefore my experience points to it. You see how that's circular?
Seriously, I take religious experiences really seriously. So that is, for me, one point in favor of.
You should not take religious experiences seriously other than maybe, oh, that felt good. Oh, that made me feel good. I can give Cameron Bertuzzi, no, not me personally, but there are people on this planet that can give Cameron Bertuzzi a religious experience almost on command. You can stick little metal things into your brain and light up certain areas of your brain, and you go, whoa. People can give Cameron Bertuzzi certain drugs, and I tell you, Cameron, you'll have a religious experience. Does that mean whoever gave you those drugs or put metal things in your brain is God? Or that the religion that they go to is true? Of course not. I don't know. if it's just because there's so much hope, meaning, and purpose from these beliefs that they just can't see this, the outsider test for faith. And because basically Cameron, I think, would have to say, well, my religious attribution is true and theirs is false. And just special plead away till the cows come home.
That now, I will say that I've also had religious experiences at Protestant churches. So it's a kind of like, weigh this one against that one. And so I think...
See, he's even admitting this. If there is doctrines within Roman Catholicism and Protestantism that cannot both be true, and I think there are, then you see how absolutely useless your spiritual experiences are to figuring out which one is true, Cameron? Listen to your own words, Cameron.
In favor of that. Now, I will say that I've also had religious experiences at Protestant churches. So it's a kind of like, weigh this one against that one. And so I think it does provide...
And when you're doing the weighing, you're not, did you say, well, the endorphins I had, the dopamine rush I had at the Roman Catholic Church was, I would say, a little stronger than what I had at the Protestant Church. So therefore, maybe that's evidence Roman Catholicism is more true, or the right form of Christianity. Is that how you're thinking, Cameron? Or when you say weigh the evidence, you're talking about the historical evidence and other stuff? I hope it's the other stuff. Because if it's not, like, I would guess that an intelligent, reasonable person can see that what I'm saying here is reasonable. That your spiritual experiences, you should look at it and say, that was kind of fun, but then go boom, boom, boom. That doesn't necessarily mean what I attribute those experiences to is true. Slap those experiences in the face.
But it is something in that direction. And I want to make the distinction that going back to what you said about Richard Swinburne is like, you can have some evidence, and a lot of people just don't, I don't know, they don't take this seriously, and they should. You can have some evidence that brings you a little bit toward some position, but that doesn't mean that little piece of evidence is going to do all the work, or that it's enough to get you all the way there, right?
Okay, I appreciate you said that, but then does that mean your experience is solid then, or just a little piece of like fluff that you put on the scale of evidence? Or like this is where the Christian is kind of hedging their bets and saying, well, we got the cumulative case, so we put on that and that and that and that and that, but each little piece on its own, like the experience, which I think any reasonable Christian listening and say, yeah, Doug makes sense here. I understand people can be duped. They can be deceived. They can think their experience means X when really it means Y. It could have nothing to do with God. Okay, Doug, we get it. But trust me, Doug, I don't rely on experiences. I got historical truth. And then when you start picking apart the historical claims here and there, well, okay, yeah, that might, I lower my confidence in the 500 because it's only mentioned once, and I lower my confidence in Lazarus being raised from the dead because it's only found in John using the historical method. But we got this, and it's like you slowly peel off all those things off the scale, and then it tips to the other side of unbelief, and you're out. That's kind of what happened to me. I think I'm going to leave it there, actually. But I really want, if anybody is has the ear of Tyler McNabb, they're not going to talk to me. But if someone has the email address and Tyler will actually respond to you, ask Tyler this. How many years has your wife been a Roman Catholic? Then ask Tyler, how many years have you been a Roman Catholic? And then get back to me on that. That's all I want to know. And same goes for Edward Fazer, because I think the storyline is very similar. If anybody has like Edward Fazer's ear and that he'll actually respond to you, ask Edward Fazer, was your wife a Roman Catholic before you? I'm just curious to see if the Pine Creek theorem has some hope here, some weight. And again, I'm happy to say I was wrong. But like to say that you believe that Roman Catholicism is some of the best evidence that's pointing to the direction that Roman Catholicism is true is the miracle of the Son. My goodness, I just I'm going to guess now that you're doing network marketing, Tyler McNabb. Do you sell homeopathy too? Oh, wouldn't it be funny if I'm right? That would be hilarious. If anybody knows the answer to that. Oh, not to say all network marketing is bad, but you know the types, right? Like, oh, just take this little juice that I have here from you. It's a patented mixture of natural ingredients, and it will make your cancer go away. It will make your eczema go away, and you'll get a lower interest rate on your mortgage. Yes, Scott Duke. I apologize. I was a little smug. Pine Creek, there are neuroscientists who do regard mystical spiritual experience as the very evidence for the perennial philosophy. I don't know what perennial philosophy is. Perennial, like yearly? Okay, so I'm curious. Who did I don't want to say that word. Who did I peeve off the most here? Roman Catholics or Protestants? Because my goal was to do both. Was I about equal? Floyd FP, yeah, the Wichita office in Kansas is currently under negotiations to buy the Las Vegas Tropicana because of the COVID. They can get it really cheap. And so all the subscribers to the Pine Creek channel, I'm thinking, this is not for sure, but I'm thinking we would give them each a room at the Tropicana and have a big Pine Creek party. Scott Duke, I did get a big dopamine rush from this. And for that, I sincerely thank the channel Caption Christianity. I sincerely thank Tyler McNabb for giving me such hope, meaning, and purpose. Poof! And remember, pareidolia. That's all you need to know, pareidolia. My apologies to Tyler McNabb. He was scheduled to come on, but we ran out of time. Have a great day, guys. See you next time.